Well, they're charged with wire fraud. There are 11 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud charges, and the maximum time that they could spend in prison, if convicted by a jury, is 20 years. So the perspective of prison time is very real. What we're waiting to see today, at the hearing today, is whether the judge is going to finally set a trial date. Because remember, those two were indicted in June of last year, so it's now been almost 10 months. And for a while, the defense was arguing that it needed more time, that there were delays in the discovery. Now, in the latest joint briefing by the government and the defense, the government is saying, okay, now we're ready to go to trial, and they want the judge to set a trial date, while the defense says it needs more time.
So we're waiting to hear on a trial date. We are talking about two individuals who used to be romantically involved, by the way, who no longer are. Elizabeth Holmes is now engaged totally separately from all of this. But also the thing about that that's interesting to me, she seems to be acting as if nothing's wrong. And is there a risk that, depending on how the trial date's set, depending on how the government makes its case, that she's kind of just able to move forward and live her life while this whole thing plays out in limbo?
I mean, it's true that, she's been seen gallivanting around San Francisco and Silicon Valley, going to dinner parties with her fiancé, a guy who's 10 years younger. By the way, she went from Sonny, the ex-number 2 Theranos, who's almost 20 years older than she was, to now being engaged to a guy who's 10 years younger. That's a 30-year pivot. And yeah, she was with this guy, Billy Evans, and their dog, Balto.
Which is the fake wolf.
Right, the husky. They were seen going to Burning Man on the day that the company dissolved. And so, clearly she is behaving like nothing is wrong, and she's kind of happy-go-lucky. And that's not, I don't think, how most people in this predicament would behave. I think most people would be laying low. On the other hand, this is how the justice system works. She did pay a $500,000 bail to be out on bail until the trial starts. Same with Sonny. He's out on bail, too. And they are allowed to go about their lives until the trial starts.
Sure. I mean, in delving into this whole story, you've gotten to know sort of the personalities involved pretty well, John, I would imagine. I mean, so when you see Elizabeth Holmes gallivanting around town like nothing has changed, does that sort of fit with the personality that you've come to know?
It doesn't surprise me at all. I think that she is someone who again and again has shown an inability to have qualms, to display regret, or to even feel like she committed any wrongdoing. I think the most that she's allowed in conversations with friends and family is that mistakes were committed by the company, but she's not necessarily copping to the mistakes herself, and she's certainly not accepting of the fact that anything wrong was done by her. She at no point did she apologize to patients or to investors or to the public about the false claims that were made and the unreliable blood tests that were returned to patients and doctors. And so, to witness that this is how she's now behaving, having been indicted, is not overly surprising to me.
In the meantime, what's happened to the board members? This was such a star-studded cast and crew. Everybody from George Shultz, his grandson, featured prominently in this as the whistleblower, and it led to a falling out to Henry Kissinger and others. Was there any recourse?
Right. So Tyler Shultz, who was one of my confidential sources and who has since gone on the record, is known to be one of the big whistleblowers, has actually started his own company and gotten it funded, and he seems to be doing well. Erica Chung, another whistleblower, is head of an incubator, a startup incubator in Hong Kong. She's doing well, too. As for the board, Tyler's grandfather, George, the former Secretary of State, has made amends and admitted that he was wrong and apologized to Tyler and pretty much called him a hero in front of the whole family. And then the other ex-board members are really laying low. Jim Mattis hasn't really said anything about Theranos since stepping down as Secretary of Defense. You haven't heard anything from Henry Kissinger, from Dick Kovacevic. From all these, luminaries of the government and business world. I think they're just they're sort of hoping that everyone forgets about this.